welcome back to the Nasty Metal production channel here at YouTube. So, this of course is my contest response video to, of course, Cassette is God. Of course, if you haven't checked out his channel, definitely should. He definitely shows a lot of cassettes, and his channel is very much dedicated to cassette tapes. And so, if you're much into that as well, which of course, if you're into metal or anything like that, you should definitely give out a, give his channel a, a look. So, basically, this, of course, the rules for this contest, of course, is basically show 3 albums, you're just that really represents, music or so, what music means to you. And just by, you can look just by here, just look at this shit. If you fucking bar in the way, just basically look at this. If you want to know what music really means to me, just look at this. Just look. Basically, that's and right there, right there should just immediately tell you what music means to me. Right there. But if you want it, but I'll definitely go into the 3 albums. In some ways, what really led me, into music. Basically, in a way, my first love, in a way, was kind of AC/DC. I was just drawn to the sort of manicness, I think of, like, Angus Young's guitar solos, or just that real, I don't know, in a way there was just something to them. There was like a sort of raw power, in a way. Just a real, I want to say heavy, but in a way it really led me to, check out more heavier stuff in some ways. But in a way, just probably the first band that really, led me to really into music, and it was definitely one of my first loves when it came to music. This was the first band. And of course, then, led to me then checking out, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance, led me to that in some ways, because of, you start with one band, you then want to check out more into the music, but the thing is, it led me to the more harder and more heavier stuff in some ways. And of course, into then like Motorhead, stuff like that, or even from then, even around there, stuff like, Ozzy, of course, all of Black Sabbath, stuff like that. Of course, Ian Gillan, all of Deep Purple. Of course, I didn't bring out any Deep Purple albums, but I got Deep Purple albums, and I don't want to, everyone's going to show a bunch of Deep Purple. But from there, it really led into, but basically, it started with AC/DC. I know this sound wasn't the first sound of my exposure, but just in general, I think a band in ways. And this is kind of like, one of my favorites from the Bon Scott era. But AC/DC were definitely one of those bands that really turned me on to music in the first place, alongside Deep Purple and Nugent and shit like that. But then as I got, more diving into the times, then came, stuff like thrash metal. And while I did listen to like Slayer and Metallica and Anthrax and Megadeth and that, but I think the band that really opened the door to really dive in to that whole thrash metal was actually Dark Angel. I just love the real mean sort of, real aggressiveness, I think, of the music. It was something that really drew me to it, and it was very dark in some ways, but not nearly as dark and brooding as your Doom or some of your real early, real 70s heavy stuff in some ways, like Sabbath or Uriah Heep or stuff like that. But it just had a real dark, sort of real aggressive nature that I really dug, and it was much more faster as well in some ways. And of course, this album and Darkness Descends were those two, door opening, albums that led into checking out a lot of thrash. However, then comes along, death metal. Because you go from one genre, you then end up going into the next extreme. The next one that's even more aggressive than the other. That's basically death metal, and it took me a long time to actually get into death metal. I knew about Cannibal Corpse, but it's like, well, they were good, but they didn't do a whole lot to really, get me into it. And of course I can do a whole video, and I kind of do on the whole, top 20 death metal albums thing, but I think if there's one band that really kind of piqued more my interest, it was actually Deicide. Of course, not this album, but it was basically the first album. And it was, of course, the song Sacrificial Suicide off the debut. And they kind of opened more of that peak for me than Cannibal Corpse did. There was something even more darker, more sinister to it that made me, and something even more extreme and more dangerous feel than what Cannibal Corpse did for me. And of course later on I ended up, digging Cannibal Corpse, and of course the only Cannibal Corpse album that I actually really more go back to is of course their first album, Eaten Back to Life. But basically DSI were the band that really opened the door in some ways. Of course, then later on, I wasn't as much into death metal then as still, but there was still that interest in some ways that was definitely, that was behind in my head, that really kept me or just behind my gut, that really wanted to really kind of open that door up. I think the one band that really then finally really even made me more want to check out death metal was Morbid Angel, with of course the Altars of Madness album. And then I am checking out all, Autopsy, Suffer Survival, and all this other shit right here. That basically that is, all within death metal. But it was Deicide that really opened up more of that door, that little peak interest into it. So in a way, Deicide were definitely my first love when it comes to death metal. Now I can go on and on with other stuff, such as speed metal, power metal, and of course to the more hard rock stuff like blues and then doom and shit like that. But when it comes to 3 albums, basically, as far as when it comes to music and the genres, whatever, these 3 right here. This is basically what music means to me. And from the stuff that is on my table and everything, well, or the records there in the back, right there. It's enough to tell you what music means to me. So, definitely, probably not as much of a good response, but I think in terms of meaning, this is basically what means to me, what music, and just in one hodgepodge shot, from the collection of music that's on my table, is enough to say of what music means to me, and what the feelings of whatever, from the genres, whatever. This is basically what it means to me in all a hodgepodge of a shot. So, this was definitely my contest response video, and definitely congratulations on 100 subs. Definitely hope you end up, making it up to like 200 or stuff, whatever. Anyways, from your channel, you damn well deserve it. You fucking bastard. But you deserve it. Anyways, definitely my contest response, and definitely check out his channel if I had not said that before. So, until then, this is Heavy Fatshead Sam out. I'll see you later.